What if I told you that canned soup is quietly destroying your blood pressure, and one single can sitting in your pantry right now contains more sodium than the American Heart Association says you should consume in an entire day? Not 2 cans, not a full day of eating soup for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. 1 can. The company that made it already knows this. They engineered the label so you'd never do the math. Cardiologists across the country are warning their own patients by name to stop eating these specific brands. And yet those same brands are still the top sellers in every grocery store in America. We're exposing 10 canned soup brands that are quietly spiking your blood pressure every time you open one. Some of these will shock you because they market themselves as healthy, organic, and even heart-friendly. But we're not stopping there. We tested the numbers, ran the math the labels are designed to hide, and we're going to show you a trick the food industry's been using for decades to make dangerous sodium levels look perfectly safe on paper. Stay until the very end because we're also revealing 4 canned soup brands that are actually low sodium, clinically safe, and worth keeping in your kitchen. Number 1 on that safe list has a sodium count so low that most cardiologists say their own patients can eat it daily without a second thought. Make sure you hit that subscribe button because we post new investigations every week that expose what the food industry doesn't want you to see. We put the real numbers, the real science, and the real ingredient lists back in your hands so you can protect yourself and your family. Before we get into the countdown, you need to understand 2 things the soup industry is banking on you never figuring out. These 2 tricks are the reason millions of Americans are unknowingly wrecking their blood pressure one bowl at a time. First up, the serving size scam. Go grab any can of soup from your kitchen right now and flip it around to the nutrition label. You'll see a sodium number, usually somewhere between 700 and 900 milligrams. Looks manageable, right? Looks like roughly a third of your daily limit. Here's the catch. That number is for 1 serving, and 1 serving of canned soup is almost never the whole can. Most canned soups list a serving as half a can, some list it as a third. But nobody on earth opens a can of soup, pours half into a bowl, and sticks the rest back in the fridge. You eat the whole can. That's how soup works. So when you eat the whole can, you've got to multiply that sodium number by 2, sometimes 2.5. That's 790 milligrams per serving. It just became 1,580 milligrams in a single sitting. That's 68% of your maximum daily sodium intake from one meal. The American Heart Association caps it at 2,300 milligrams per day, and ideally no more than 1,500 for adults managing high blood pressure. The World Health Organization sets its own guideline at 2,000 milligrams per day, and a single can of soup blows past both thresholds before you've touched breakfast or dinner. The FDA issued voluntary sodium reduction targets for food manufacturers back in 2021, specifically because the average American is consuming nearly double the recommended limit, and canned soup is one of the biggest contributors. The food industry knows this. They picked those serving sizes specifically because smaller portions produce smaller numbers on the label. Clinical nutritionists call it portion distortion, and it's completely legal. Now here's the second thing, and this one almost nobody talks about. It's not just what's inside the can, it's the can itself. For decades, manufacturers lined their cans with a resin containing BPA, bisphenol A, a synthetic chemical that mimics estrogen in the human body. Research published in the journal Hypertension found that BPA exposure is directly associated with elevated blood pressure. But here's where it gets worse for soup specifically. BPA leaches into food at higher rates when the food is acidic. Soup is acidic. Tomato-based soups are highly acidic. That means the soups you think are healthiest, your minestrone, your tomato, your vegetable, those are the ones pulling the most BPA out of the can lining and straight into your body. Some manufacturers have switched to BPA-free cans, but a lot of them just swapped BPA for BPS or other bisphenol variants that early research suggests carry similar endocrine-disrupting risks. The can isn't just a container, it's an active participant in what you're consuming. And almost no canned soup video on the internet has ever told you that. So now you understand the 2 hidden mechanisms, the label math trick and the can lining chemistry. Here are 10 canned soup brands that are spiking your blood pressure, ranked from concerning to absolutely dangerous. Number 10. Great Value Chicken Noodle. The budget trap disguised as comfort food. Walmart's house brand sells for under $2, which makes it the go-to for families stretching grocery budgets and seniors living on fixed incomes. That familiar packaging promises home-style goodness at a price you can't beat. But clinical research confirms what nutritionists have known for years. Budget pricing in processed food almost always means maximum sodium packed into minimum nutrition. Great Value Chicken Noodle hits you with over 660 milligrams of sodium per serving. Eat the whole can and you're pushing past 1,300 milligrams from a single bowl of watery broth with chicken flavoring. There's no origin disclosure on these cans, no batch traceability, no way to verify where any of it came from or how it was processed. Consumer Reports has flagged transparency issues with budget store brands repeatedly in their food safety investigations. Cardiologists won't recommend this soup for anyone managing blood pressure because the sodium-to-nutrition ratio is one of the worst in the entire aisle. Your heart doesn't care how much you saved at checkout. That bargain's sitting in millions of pantries right now, and most folks have no clue what it's actually costing them. Number 9. Lipton Cup of Soup Instant Chicken Noodle. The chemical experiment in a paper packet. Those little pouches promise soup in 60 seconds. Just add hot water. But what you're really adding hot water to is a concentrated delivery system for sodium and industrial food additives. One packet packs between 600 and 800 milligrams of sodium. Flip it over, and the ingredient list reads like a chemistry lab: monosodium glutamate, maltodextrin, hydrolyzed corn protein, emulsified fat powders, and chemical preservatives like TBHQ. Clinical research links TBHQ to digestive distress and nausea at sustained exposure levels. Those noodles aren't pasta. They're ultra-processed wheat paste that's been deep-fried, dehydrated, and pumped with preservatives to survive months on a shelf. When you pour in boiling water, you're not making soup. You're rehydrating chemistry into a salty liquid that barely qualifies as food. Cardiologists flag instant soups specifically because the sodium hits your bloodstream fast and hard with no fiber or protein to slow things down. That packet's probably sitting in your office desk drawer right now, and it's the furthest thing from a harmless quick lunch. Number 8. Wolfgang Puck Organic Free-Range Chicken Noodle. The celebrity chef name that tricks you into trusting the sodium. Wolfgang Puck built his reputation on fine dining excellence. His name on a grocery store shelf automatically transfers that trust straight to your shopping cart. Slap the word organic on there, and the deal feels sealed. But here's what that organic certification actually guarantees: pesticide-free ingredients. That's it. It says absolutely nothing about sodium. Independent consumer analysis confirms that organic soup lines from premium brands routinely match conventional soups, milligram for milligram on sodium. This particular product clocks in at over 700 milligrams per serving. Finish the full container and you've blown past your safe daily threshold. Clinical nutritionists warn about something called the health halo effect, where consumers assume the entire product is healthy and skip reading the actual numbers. And the ingredient list quietly includes hydrolyzed corn protein, which is a naturally occurring source of glutamate that delivers MSG effects without requiring explicit disclosure. Cardiologists treat organic high-sodium soup exactly the same way they treat conventional high-sodium soup. Your blood vessels can't tell the difference between organic salt and regular salt. That premium price tag sitting on your shelf looking trustworthy, and the sodium inside doesn't care whose name is on the label. Number 7. Campbell's Chunky Classic Chicken Noodle. The big can with the big sodium secret. Soup that eats like a meal, that's their pitch. What they don't mention is that this meal delivers 790 milligrams of sodium per serving. Each can holds 2 servings. Eat the whole thing, and everybody eats the whole thing, and you've just taken in 1,580 milligrams of sodium. That's nearly 70% of your maximum daily allowance in one sitting. Before breakfast, before dinner, before the salt you shake onto anything else that day. Campbell's has acknowledged using MSG in many products when they deem it necessary for flavor. Clinical research confirms that stacking high sodium with MSG amplifies the blood pressure response because both compounds trigger fluid retention and edema through different biological pathways. Cardiologists specifically name Campbell's Chunky when they're counseling patients on sodium reduction because it's the most commonly consumed high-sodium soup in the country. Brand recognition makes people trust it without thinking. That iconic label's been in American pantries for generations, and for generations it's been quietly working against every blood pressure medication those same families take. Number 6. Progresso Traditional Potato and Cheese. The comfort bowl hiding sodium phosphate. Progresso plays the premium card, beautiful labels with pictures of fresh ingredients. 1 cup of their potato and cheese hits you with 790 milligrams of sodium. Eat the whole can, which you will, and that doubles to over 1,500 milligrams. But the sodium number's only half the story here. Buried in the ingredient list is sodium phosphate, an additive used for texture and flavor enhancement. Research published in clinical nutrition journals shows that artificial sodium phosphate consumed regularly accelerates cardiovascular damage and kidney decline in people who are already vulnerable. And here's why cardiologists flag sodium phosphate separately from regular table salt. Your body absorbs it more efficiently, meaning more of it reaches your bloodstream faster, triggering fluid retention and clinically measurable edema in at-risk patients. Modified food starch hiding in the formula triggers blood sugar spikes that mess with glucose control. Each serving gives you just 1 gram of fiber and 5 grams of protein, despite the premium price point. You're paying more for a can that delivers less nutrition and more cardiovascular risk than most budget brands on this list. That premium label's sitting in your pantry, projecting quality, while the formula inside quietly fights everything your cardiologist's been telling you. Number 5. Progresso rich and hearty broccoli cheese with bacon. The double threat that attacks your arteries from 2 directions at once. This one sounds like a filling winter meal. Throwing broccoli into a cheese base tricks people into thinking they're making a balanced choice. But clinical research has identified this as one of the most cardiovascularly dangerous soups on the American market, and the reason is simple. It combines 2 arterial assault mechanisms simultaneously. 800 milligrams of sodium per serving forces water into your bloodstream, driving up fluid volume and causing edema, which increases pressure against your vessel walls. At the same time, high saturated fat from cheap dairy and processed pork kicks your liver into producing excess LDL cholesterol. That cholesterol builds up inside the exact same arteries that the sodium just weakened. Cardiologists call this compounding risk, 2 independent cardiovascular threats amplifying each other in a single bowl. Modern clinical research has caught up to what nutrition scientists suspected for decades. The sodium plus saturated fat combination accelerates heart disease faster than either factor on its own. Your grocery store stocks this right next to the healthier options with no warning, no distinction, and no indication that this specific product carries double the cardiovascular risk. If you're starting to see the pattern here, if you're realizing the soup aisle isn't what it looks like, do me a favor. Hit that like button. It helps this video reach more people who deserve to know what's actually in these cans. And if you haven't subscribed yet, hit subscribe and turn on notifications, because we investigate a different grocery store product every single week and put the real numbers back where they belong, in your hands. Number 4. Gardein plant-based beef and country vegetable. The vegan health halo hiding 1130 milligrams of sodium. This is where the investigation takes a hard turn. Gardein uses plant-based marketing to project wellness. Shoppers grab products with green leaves on the packaging and assume they automatically support a healthy lifestyle, so they skip the nutrition panel entirely. That's a costly mistake. 1 serving of this soup contains 1,130 milligrams of sodium. Not the whole can, 1 serving. That's nearly half your entire daily maximum from a few spoonfuls. Clinical research confirms that food formulators creating meat alternatives routinely overcompensate with aggressive sodium levels to mimic the savory umami profile of real beef broth. You might be avoiding animal products, but you're punishing your cardiovascular system just as hard. Cardiologists have been clear on this. Plant-based junk food is still junk food. The green leaf on the label doesn't lower your blood pressure. The sodium inside raises it the same way it does in every other can on this list. This one's probably sitting in your pantry right now because you thought you were making the healthy choice. You weren't. Number 3. Campbell's condensed cream of mushroom, the casserole killer hiding in plain sight. This is the most dangerous soup on the list that people don't even think of as soup. Millions of Americans keep this iconic red and white can stocked specifically for holiday casseroles, weeknight gravies, and one-pot dinners. Here's what makes cream of mushroom uniquely destructive. Each half-cup serving, and a half-cup is barely a few spoonfuls, packs 870 milligrams of sodium. Most recipes call for the entire can undiluted. That's 1,740 milligrams of concentrated sodium dumped directly into your main course before you've touched the salt shaker. 76% of your entire daily limit in 1 can of soup base. Clinical research confirms that consuming sodium in concentrated form, as an undiluted cooking ingredient rather than a diluted bowl, delivers a sharper spike to blood pressure, because the sodium load hits your system in a smaller volume of food. Cardiologists say this is the single product they most commonly have to explain to patients who can't figure out why their blood pressure won't come down despite medication. Check the ingredient list. Water first, then mushrooms, then vegetable oil and modified food starch. Actual cream is listed 7th. There's more industrial thickener in this can than dairy. That red and white label's been in your family's kitchen for decades, and every casserole you made with it quietly worked against your heart. Number 2. Snow's condensed New England clam chowder, the sodium bomb that blows past your entire daily limit in a single bowl. Seafood soups naturally run higher in sodium than vegetable-based broths, but Snow's pushes the numbers into territory that cardiologists describe as clinically reckless. One serving of this chowder delivers over 1,500 milligrams of sodium. That number alone represents your entire ideal daily sodium limit, according to AHA guidelines for anyone managing hypertension, and it exceeds the World Health Organization's 2,000 milligram recommendation when you factor in everything else you eat that day. One serving, not the whole can. Eat the full container, and you will, because nobody opens clam chowder and saves half for tomorrow, and you're consuming a sodium load that clinical research directly ties to immediate measurable spikes in blood pressure. Your kidneys get forced into emergency filtration mode, pulling water from surrounding tissue into the bloodstream to dilute the sodium concentration. That fluid overload is clinical edema, and it directly increases the volume pressing against your arterial walls. Modern clinical research has caught up to what cardiologists observed for years. Acute high-sodium meals don't just contribute to long-term hypertension. They trigger short-term blood pressure spikes that can cause cardiovascular events in at-risk individuals right then and there. This can's probably sitting next to your other soups right now, and it packs more sodium than almost everything else on this list. Number 1. The absolute worst canned soup for your blood pressure in America. Campbell's Condensed Cream of Chicken. The silent destroyer in every American kitchen. Most people don't even realize this product is dangerous because they don't think of it as a meal, they think of it as an ingredient. And that's exactly what makes it the most destructive soup on this entire list. 1/2 cup serving contains 860 milligrams of sodium. Recipes routinely call for the full can undiluted plus additional salted ingredients: your chicken, your rice, your breadcrumbs, your cheese. A single casserole made with 1 can of cream of chicken easily crosses 2,500 milligrams of total sodium before anyone sits down to eat. That casserole feeds a family. That family eats it 2 or 3 times a week. Those children grow up with taste buds calibrated to expect and crave sodium levels that cardiologists classify as dangerous. Clinical research confirms that chronic high-sodium exposure during childhood permanently alters salt sensitivity and significantly increases lifetime hypertension risk. This isn't just one meal. This is generational cardiovascular damage baked into family recipes and passed down through cookbooks. The can lining adds the BPA exposure we talked about earlier. The condensed format packs maximum sodium into minimum volume. And because it hides inside other dishes, most people never trace their blood pressure problems back to this specific product. Cardiologists say cream of chicken is the #1 sodium source their patients can't identify on their own because it never shows up on the plate as soup. It disappears into the casserole, the gravy, the pot pie. But the sodium doesn't disappear. It shows up on your next blood pressure reading. This can is in your kitchen right now. You used it last week. Nobody told you what it was doing until today. Now here's the good news. Not every soup company decided your cardiovascular system was an acceptable trade-off for shelf life and profit margins. 4 brands actually earn their place through transparency, tested ingredients, and sodium levels that cardiologists can get behind. And if you're serious about protecting your blood pressure long-term, these safe picks pair directly with the DASH diet. That's the Dietary Approaches to Stop Hypertension eating plan that the American Heart Association specifically recommends for managing blood pressure. The DASH diet emphasizes exactly what these 4 soups deliver: low sodium, high potassium, and real whole food ingredients. Safe pick number 4, Pacific Foods Organic Low Sodium Soups. Pacific uses USDA-certified organic whole food ingredients packed in BPA-free paperboard cartons, which eliminates the can lining problem entirely. Their low-sodium line comes in between 300 and 450 milligrams per serving, roughly half of what conventional brands load in. And here's something almost nobody mentions. Pacific Foods delivers around 450 milligrams of potassium per serving. That matters because potassium is the mineral that actively counteracts sodium's blood pressure effects, helping your kidneys flush excess sodium out rather than letting it build up in your bloodstream. Non-GMO Project verified. Detailed sourcing published openly on their website. Clinical nutritionists recommend Pacific specifically for patients transitioning off high-sodium diets, because the flavor stays rich enough to prevent the bland food relapse that derails most sodium reduction plans. Safe pick number 3, Amy's Organic Light in Sodium Soups. Amy's Kitchen has been family-owned since 1987, and their light in sodium line drops sodium to between 200 and 340 milligrams per serving. That's dramatically lower than any conventional brand, while still tasting like real food. BPA-free linings, 0 MSG in any form, no hydrolyzed proteins, no yeast extracts, No glutamate workarounds. Read the ingredient list on their lentil vegetable. Filtered water, organic onions, organic lentils, organic carrots, organic celery. That's food. Clinical research confirms that 3 to 6 grams of dietary fiber per serving from real legumes actively lowers LDL cholesterol, while the low sodium protects your blood pressure. The lentils also provide natural potassium, which is exactly what the DASH diet prioritizes as a sodium counterbalance. Cardiologists hand this brand name to their patients directly. Safe pick number 2. Kettle and Fire Bone Broth Soups. This is what happens when a company decides your health matters more than their shelf life economics. Kettle and Fire simmers organic bones for 24 hours to pull out minerals, collagen, and amino acids that give you functional nutrition no conventional canned soup can match. Every ingredient is USDA certified organic. Sodium sits between 450 and 570 milligrams per serving, among the lowest in the entire soup category. They voluntarily test for heavy metals and publish the results, which almost no other soup company does. Clinical research supports bone broth collagen for joint health, gut lining repair, and skin elasticity. You're getting 10 to 15 grams of protein per serving from actual meat and bone-derived collagen, not soy isolate pretending to be real food. It runs $7 to $9 a carton, sure, but you're buying nutrition that happens to come in soup form. Safe pick number 1. Health Valley No Salt Added Soups. This is the gold standard, the one cardiologists recommend to their own families. Health Valley's No Salt Added Minestrone contains just 45 milligrams of sodium per cup. 45. Stack that against 1,500 milligrams in Snow's clam chowder, or 1,740 milligrams hiding in a can of Campbell's condensed. All the flavor comes from tomatoes, carrots, celery, and beans, not from sodium chloride dumped in by the barrel. Independent testing confirms the numbers match what the label says. Clinical research shows this sodium level is safe for daily consumption, even for patients actively managing stage 2 hypertension. The beans and vegetables deliver natural potassium and dietary fiber that actively pulls cholesterol down, which is precisely why this soup fits perfectly into a DASH diet meal plan. The FDA's own voluntary sodium reduction framework points to products like this as the benchmark the rest of the industry should be meeting. This is what commercial soup should look like when a company decides your health isn't up for negotiation. This should be in your pantry instead of the 10 we just exposed. If you made it to the end of this investigation, you now know more about what's really in your canned soup than 99% of the people who'll eat it tonight. The soup aisle isn't a comfort food section. It's a sodium delivery system engineered to prioritize shelf life and profit over your cardiovascular health. But now you've got the numbers, you've got the math, and you've got 4 alternatives that prove convenient soup doesn't have to be a heart attack in a can. Smash that like button if this changed the way you look at your pantry. Drop a comment and tell me which one hit you hardest. Are you Team Cream of Chicken, had no idea it was lurking in every casserole? Team Snow's Clam Chowder, couldn't believe that 1,500 milligram serving? Or Team Gardein, the plant-based health halo caught you completely off guard? I read every single comment and I want to hear from you. And if you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button and ring that notification bell so you never miss an investigation. We're building something here, a community that reads labels, does the math, and refuses to let the food industry make our health decisions for us. I'd love to have you on this journey with us. Remember, sometimes the most dangerous thing in your kitchen isn't what you're cooking, it's what you're cooking with, sitting on your shelf, hiding behind a label that was designed to make you stop asking questions.